Hello everyone, welcome to this class on Datacore Farming. This course is designed primarily for those who are looking to establish a reliable source of passive income in EVE. After just a few weeks of effort, you can earn over 100 million ISK each and every month from Datacore Farming forever without having to do anything more other than collecting and selling data cores. Datacore Farming does require a few skills, a little planning, some missioning, and a bit of patience. However, once you have it all set up, your Datacore farms will operate continuously, producing ISK for you even while you sleep. So it's definitely worthwhile. My name is Neville Smit. I am the Director of Education for EVE University. I'm also a graduate of EVE University, and every once in a while I like to do classes like this one. I've been playing the game for, more than a couple years now, and have been Datacore farming for about half that time, and I do find it to be extremely useful and also quite profitable in a variety of different ways. So we'll be sharing with you what I've learned in the School of Hard Knocks and also from my research as well. Okay, everybody ready? Let's begin. Let's start first by talking about what is Datacore farming. What is the definition of Datacore farming? One of the most interesting ways to earn interstellar credits, otherwise known as ISK in the game, which is the currency in EVE, is to develop relationships with research and development agents in non-player corporations. Once you have access to R&D agents, you can then ask them to conduct research for you on your behalf. This produces research points, otherwise known as RPs, which you can then use to purchase data cores. Now, data cores are a key part of the invention process in EVE. If you're not familiar with what the invention process is, here's a link that describes that. You can go to the EVE University Wiki and do a search for invention, and you can find some more information about it that way as well. The invention process produces advanced technology, otherwise known as Tech 2 items. Some people call them T2 items. Data cores are consumed in the invention process for creating Tech 2 blueprint copies. I also teach a class on invention as well, and there's a recording of that in the EVE University Wiki. Here's a link to the syllabus for that class if you want to know more about the invention process. Every invention process does require data cores, so they're always in demand. Data cores are therefore very valuable and can be sold on the market for ISK, in addition to being used for T2 item production. Now, this is a very good thing for all of us, as it means that Datacore farming, once established, can produce a passive income for you. Without any further action required, an R&D agent will happily generate research points, which you can then periodically convert into income. With 5 level 4 R&D agents working for you, and under the right market conditions, it is possible to earn an income of more than 150 million ISK per month or more. Most people earn somewhere between 75 and 100 million, but I've earned as much as 156 million in a month without having to do anything. How long does it take to do Datacore farming? Well, most players should expect to train all of the required skills in about 4 to 6 weeks. Meanwhile, you can run missions that are needed to get the required level of standings to unlock the higher grade R&D agents. So in less than a couple of months in game time, you can establish a reliable passive income stream that will last forever. So depending on how long you expect to play EVE, this could be a very worthwhile investment. There are 4 things that you must do to become an effective Datacore farmer. First, you must train the required skills. While you're doing that, you can plan your Datacore farming campaign, which basically involves choosing the right corporation that you want to target for developing relationships with their R&D agents. Third, develop standings with your selected R&D agent corporations. And then 4, begin the actual flow of research points. Let's take each of these in turn. Training skills for Datacore farming involves training some essential skills. You need Science 5 and either Mechanic 5 or Engineering 5 or Electronics 5, any one of those, and at least one of the applied science skills to level 1 or higher. And there are a number of different applied science skills that focus on a particular area. Datacore market prices do fluctuate, as you'll see. In fact, if you go to the market window and go to the search bar and type Datacore, it'll give you a listing of all the different Datacores that are available in the market. You can do that now if you wish. And you can see the relative prices, and you can see that they do span a pretty wide range. Some Datacores are more in demand than others. You'll want to select applied sciences that produce the highest Datacore prices, but also match the high-level R&D agents' abilities in the corporations that you are targeting. So before you start picking which particular science skills you want to train, you need to determine which R&D agents that you want to generate research points for you so you can buy the right Datacores. We'll cover how to select the optimum corporation and R&D agents in the next section. I found this particular site, the evegeek.com link to Datacore prices, to be quite handy. That information is compiled from player-contributed market price information from Eve Central, and it gives you some general ideas of the trends and changes in Datacore prices. So if you want to see how prices are fluctuating and they go up and down all the time, take a look at that particular site. And they give you an idea of what the current price levels are and which particular applied science skills you might want to target. Applied science skill books cost 10 million ISK each, which is not a trivial investment. So you are going to need that amount of funding in the bank. Also, be sure to check the prices and market trends before you choose those skills. As I said, this is not a decision you want to make willy-nilly. You want to pick the right applied science skills because it is a substantial investment, and you want to make sure that you're picking those skills that you can get access to with particular R&D agents and the corporations that you want to target. Now note that the skills I mentioned before, Science 5, Mechanic 5 or Engineering 5 or Electronics 5, and at least one applied science skill, only gives you access to one and only one R&D agents. To maximize your income, you're going to want multiple R&D agents working for you, which means you're going to have to train some additional skills to get access to more than one R&D agent. Those skills are laboratory operation to level 5, research to level 5, and research project management. Each level of research project management gives you the ability to use another R&D agent up to a maximum of 6 at level 5, although it takes forever to get to level 5. Most people only train to level 4. Also note that research project management is also an expensive skill. It costs 40 million ISK. Zerathul asks, so if you have all 5, you can farm all types of data. Well, if you train all of the different applied science skills, and there are, I guess, about 15 of them, then you can switch around. Yes, there are a lot of applied science skills. I actually have an alt character that specializes in invention and manufacturing, and she actually has every single applied science skill trained at least to level 4, and some of them actually to level 5, which gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can manufacture and also in what kinds of areas you can get your R&D agents to research points for you. Matik, I would say no, it is not worth it to train these earlier in your career. This is something you want to do a little bit later after you get essential fitting skills and some advanced ship piloting skills done. I started doing this about 8 months into my career, and that's about the right time that I'd recommend to you. Some people will set up alts specifically focused on Datacore Farming and focusing their development and skill training in that alt for science skills so that they can get access to the higher level R&D agents, and I can recommend that to you as well. That's exactly what I did, in fact. So there is quite a bit of expense involved in training the appropriate skills, but you're probably saying to yourself, gosh, that's going to be at least 50, 60 million in skills that I'm going to have to buy in order even to have access to R&D agents. Is it worth it? Well, if you're making more than 100 million ISK in a month, you're going to earn that back in about 2 weeks. So yes, it's probably worth it. I found it to be quite profitable in the long run. If it's something that you're only going to do just because you're playing Eve just for a short period of time, I wouldn't recommend it. It doesn't make any sense for you to do that. But if you are going to be doing this for some time, then it's definitely in the long run worth the investment. BitLoss asks a good question. Is there a cap on RP? The answer is no. Your RP can grow forever. Do they continue racking up RPs or research points when you aren't paying for your account? The answer is no. It used to be that if you unsubbed your account, they did accumulate, and there was this practice of setting up an alt, training up the skills, getting Datacore Farming going, and then turning that particular account off and letting it kind of simmer, if you will, for 6 months, and then coming back, and you would have billions of ISK waiting for you with that alt character. People caught on to that. CCP realized what was going on, and they turned that off. So if you're not paying for an account, which is the character that with which you're doing research, then CCP will turn it off, which I think is fair. It doesn't make sense to have an unfair advantage with an account that's not even active in the game, I think. So those are the essential skills. Now we have to then plan our Datacore Farming campaign. While you're training the required skills, you can do a little planning. Not all non-player character corporations, NPC corporations, offer R&D agents, so some pre-planning about which corporations you will select for your Datacore Farming plan is absolutely required for you to be successful. Also, different R&D agents specialize in different areas of applied science research, so they don't all study every field. You have to be a little selective about what areas of applied science you want them to focus on. They won't even speak to you unless you have the required skills trained and completed, and then only will conduct research in their areas of expertise, and only if you've trained in the relevant applied science skills at the level that matches their expertise. So this is not as easy as you might think. It does require a certain degree of planning. There is a wonderful link that I use to identify different agents, R&D agents, and Matik has already posted that. It is eveagents.com, which will let you search for agents. You can search by corp, by R&D skill, or just list the corps with the different R&D agents. You can also sort the list by a number of data cores earned per day if you have maxed out the skills. So a very handy site is eve-agents.com for searching for the appropriate R&D agents. Now, everyone can follow along with me to see if you have any relationships with corporations that have R&D agents already. Do this. In fact, go ahead and click on your character sheet by clicking on the top button on your Neocom. And then click on Standings, the Standings button on the left. Make sure that you have the Liked By tab selected, Liked By, and scroll down to the Corporations section. Go ahead and right-click on the top corporation there and click Show Info in the menu. You can then click on the Agents tab in the new window and scroll down to the R&D agent list. Now, if there are no R&D agents listed, then that corp does not have any R&D agents, and you've got to go back to your listings and select a different corporation. If there are R&D agents there, you can see that they're divided into available to you and not available to you. If you go down to the available list, you can select on the highest level agent and do a Show Info by doing a right click and selecting Show Info. Look under the Agent Info tab, and it'll give you all the different research fields that that particular R&D agent researches. If none of the skill areas that you are specializing in are listed there, then you need to move on to the next best agent and repeat. So this is a way for you to see if you have agent relationships with corporations or have access to certain R&D agents. You might also want to scroll down and look under the Not Available to You section, and you can see if there are any R&D agents there that are higher level. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to get access to them in a second. Now, in order to maximize the production of research points and thereby produce the most data cores, you will want to work with the highest level R&D agents, and I recommend level 4. Now, you can do this with any R&D agent level, level 2, level 3 if you want. If you don't have access to level 4 and you want to start generating data cores, you can do so, but they really do produce them at far lower levels, so it's not going to be nearly as profitable unless you can get access to level 4 agents. Note also that there are no level 5 R&D agents, although eveagents.com does list them as such. That is an error. Pay no attention to that. Level 4 is the highest level R&D agent in the game. The corporations with the level 4 R&D agents are in the Gallente Federation, Creodon, Rodin Shipyards, Devol Laboratories, and unfortunately, all of the level 4 agents are split up between those 3 corporations. So the Gallente Federation is not your best choice for grinding up faction standing to get access to those R&D agents, unfortunately. In the Caldari State, Kalakiota Corporation, Ishikoni Corporation, and Lidai Corporation. And of those 3, Lidai is the best choice, because Lidai has 5, actually more than 5, level 4 agents within it. So if you're going to be grinding up standing with Caldari State, I would recommend you select Lidai. In the Minmatar Republic, Boundless Creation and Core Complexion are the 2 corps with R&D agents, and of those 2, I highly recommend Core Complexion. They have by far the largest number of high-level agents, so that's a good one. I actually have standings ground up with Core Complexion with 2 particular characters. I have not mentioned the Amar agents. There are 2 corps that do R&D production. They have R&D agents. That is the Carthan Conglomerate and Visium. And they are not the optimal choices because they don't have as many agents. Of all the different corporations that I've mentioned, Lidai from the Caldari State and Core Complexion from Minmatar Republic. So if you're an Amar character, I do recommend grinding up standings with the Caldari State. If you're a Gallente character, it's going to be relatively easy for you to grind up standings with Minmatar Republic. The Gallente and the Mar are not the optimal choices here. The best 2 choices are Lidai Corp and Core Complexion. There are some other corps with a few R&D agents, and for completeness, I'll mention them here. Thukar Tribe has Thukar Mix. They have a few R&D agents in that particular corp. The Khanid Kingdom has a Khanid Innovation Corporation. However, unis should never talk to Khanid Innovation agents. Can anyone tell me in the chat channel why unis should never talk to Khanid Innovation agents? Exactly right, Nebu, because we have standings ground up with Khanid Innovation, so the corporation has access to jump clones. So please do not select Khanid Innovation for grinding up standings to get access to their R&D agents, because if you do, our overall standing will drop, and the only way to fix that is to kick you out of the uni, which is not cool. So don't pick Khanid Innovation, please. It's not a good choice. In the Amatar Mandate, there's the Nefantar Minor Association. They also have a few R&D agents, but none of those are good choices because they don't have any higher level agents, and the number of agents they have is very limited. After you select your ideal corporation and the R&D agents, make a list of who they are and where they're located, and the science skills that they require from you, and most importantly, the level of standing that you will need to develop to get them to talk to you. Matik asks a good question. If you're just doing missions, should you go for R&D missions first? Well, no. R&D missions, first of all, there really are no R&D missions. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. If you have access to an R&D agent and you click on them, the only thing you can get them to do is do research for you. They're not going to give you standard missions. So you should do missions with security and distribution agents first. In fact, you're going to have to do that in order to grind up the standings to get access to R&D agents in the first place. So don't expect any missions from R&D agents. They will not give you, I forgot mining as well. Thank you. They aren't going to give you any conventional missions. The only thing they'll do for you is grind up research points. So, in fact, they won't even talk to you unless you have the appropriate standings. More about that in a moment. Now, each R&D agent requires a certain level of standing with their corporation and their faction before they're willing to talk to you. This is a little different than standing requirements with other kinds of agents. Even if you have faction standings high enough to use a normal level 4 agent of other types, this may not do you any good in trying to get access to R&D agents. To access a research agent, you must fulfill 2 standing requirements for an agent of their particular level and quality. To use a level 4 research agent, your effective personal standing must be 3.0 or higher toward that R&D agent's corporation. And you must have an effective personal standing with that agent of 5.0 or higher, or with the agent's faction, or with the agent's corporation in order to use that agent's services. Now, that's a little complicated. So a couple things to note about this. Note that attaining the required corporate standing automatically fulfills the lower requirements. So if you have a corporate standing of 5.0 with that R&D agent's corporation, then you're covered. You're good. No problem. The extra requirement exists only to prevent those with high faction standings from accessing top-level researchers without actually working for that corporation. So let's say, just to make this clear to you, let's say that you had perfect 10.0 standings with the Minmatar, and I want to get access to Core Complexion Corporation R&D agents, level 4 agents. Let's say I have a perfect 10.0 standing with the Minmatar, in other words, that agent's faction, but I have 0 standing with Core Complexion. Well, even though I have 10.0 standings, if there was a normal agent, I could get access to them. But in the case of R&D agents, I would not be able to get access to them. However, if I had 10.0 faction standing and 3.0 standing with Core Complexion, with the corporation, then I could get access to them. Or if I just had 5.0 corp standing with Core Complexion, then I could get access to them. So all of this means that a certain amount of mission grinding with an R&D agent's particular corporation is unavoidable, but a high faction standing can also reduce the amount of mission running required. If any of this is confusing to you, go to the EVE University Wiki, do a search for Datacore Farming, and there is a guide there that explains all of this in some detail. The point is that what I could do if I had very, very high faction standing with the Minmatar, and actually I do, I have more than 8.0 standing with the Minmatar now, that means I can get access to every level 4 agent in the Minmatar faction, regardless of whether I've ever talked to that corporation or not. But that will not work with an R&D agent. I have to have standings of at least 3.0 with their corporation as well. So it just means that you're going to have to do some mission grinding with that R&D agent's corporation. Anne asked a good question. Would it work to fleet up with an alt on another account and grind standings with 2 characters at the same time? Yes, it will. If you fleet up and share the standings increase over time, that will help you as well. And many people do that. So it's a way of sharing some of the improvements in overall corporate standing. Belraj asks, is it a bad idea to grind standing for, say, Lidai as a Galente character? No, it's not a problem at all. That's not a big deal. you can definitely do that. In fact, many people do. They try to maintain evenly good standings with all the different factions that are out there. It's difficult to do because you've got to balance which particular storyline missions that you do, as well as any ship kill missions against opposing factions, but it's definitely doable. So if you're a Gallente character and you want to grind up standings with Lidi, you can definitely do that. There are some tips for grinding up high faction standings in the guide, so take a look at that. I do recommend that you can do some things like running the tutorial missions for that faction, train your social connections and negotiating skills. You can also run Cosmos and data center missions for that faction. Very, very helpful for grinding up higher faction standings. So there are a number of things that you can do to improve your faction standings, and that will help you to get access to those R&D agents a little easier. And once you get access to the R&D agents, you can go to the station where your desired R&D agent is located, and you can begin a conversation with him or her. One of the options that they will provide to you is to start research. Select that option. They will then offer you the different areas of applied science that they specialize in. Select the ones in which you have trained your particular applied science skills. The agent will then start to produce research points for you. Now, the formula for determining how many research points you get in a day is as follows. I'm going to go ahead and post that in the chat channel. That formula is a little complicated, but let me give you some of the highlights here. The number of research points is determined by the agent skill in a particular area of applied science, which is why you want to pick the higher level agents, because they're going to have higher applied science skills. Also, your skill in that particular applied science area, which means that you want to train those applied science skills at least to level 4 if you can. I have a few trained to level 5, and it does make a difference. So you want to train those selected applied science skills at least to level 4. Also, the effective quality is derived after the effective negotiation, connections, and other social skills. So you do want to train negotiation, connections, and social skills, which is just useful skills to have for maintaining high standings with different factions and also for maximizing your rewards from missioning. So I do recommend that as well. There's also something called the area bonus. You don't really need to worry too much about that. Basically, anything that is researching in a weapons area, that gets doubled, and any kind of ship research is tripled. But that doesn't mean anything, because the cost for the data cores for weapons is doubled and the cost for data cores for ships is tripled. So even though you get them at twice or 3 times the amount, it all cancels out anyway. So don't worry about the area bonus. It really makes no difference. I have on my alt character where I've trained up the applied science skills for things like mechanical engineering up to level 5. I'm getting about 115 research points per day with level 4 agents. So that gives you an idea of the level that you can get. Zerothul asks, why would I say a Mars space isn't good for Datacore Farming? Because they don't have as many level 4 agents as the other ones that I mentioned. The best ones to select are Lidi and Core Complexion. Although some people do grind up standings with Visium Corp, and perfectly happy to do that. You just have fewer choices there relative to the other alternatives that are there. Yeah, I can get R&D agents with these other corporations, and it's perfectly okay. Cartham Conglomerate is not a bad one to have. It just means you're going to have to grind up standings with another corporation to maximize your return on Datacore Farming. And some people do that. They'll grind up standings with Gallente and then all 3 of the corporations that offer R&D agents within Gallente, and that is completely okay. It just means more work for you. Not saying you can't do it. It just means it's going to take longer. Excellent questions, by the way. Thank you. A little earlier, we had this particular link that I'm posting here in the chat channel. That is a very, very helpful link. It's hussars-online.ru/eve/datacore.php. And that particular site lets you input your skills, standings, and it'll show you in order which agents and skill combinations are the most profitable given the current prices of data cores. So you can use your real skills or standings or experiment with other possible combinations. That's a very helpful what-if kind of guide to use to determine which particular areas of applied science you might want to focus in. Once your R&D agent is working for you, that agent will offer you a special mission once per day. You'll get these messages from R&D agents every day. Each of these R&D specialized agent missions will reward you with 1 day's worth extra of research points, effectively doubling your ISK potential. R&D agents offer relatively safe missions, half of which are very short courier missions, and the other half are trade-related. There is no penalty for ignoring or declining those missions from an R&D agent. You get no standing loss whatsoever. And I will tell you that the messages they send you sound like they're going to stop doing research. That is not the case. Despite the dire warnings that they give you, turning them down will not stop their research or the flow of research points. So don't fret about it if you ignore those missions. Yeah, Iris makes a good point. The missions are extremely easy and very safe, but the time it takes to fly to the agent location and move things around, I very rarely do R&D missions unless I just happen to be in the area. So you're not going to get any kind of standing loss or anything if you ignore them. All right, so once you have your R&D agent selected, you've ground up the missions to get standings with them, you've trained up your science skills, and so you've got them generating research points. How do you actually make ISK from Datacores? Now, you can track the amount of research points being created each day by your R&D agents by clicking on the Journal button on your Neocom, which I think is the fourth one from the bottom on your Neocom on the left, and click on the Research tab, and that will tell you the number of accumulated research points that you've amassed with each agent. Of course, if you haven't started the process, you won't have anybody listed there, but you can go back and check it. Periodically, you can go talk to your R&D agent again and tell him or her that you wish to purchase Datacores. It's one of the options that they provide to you. The agent will tell you how many you can afford based on the number of research points that you have accumulated. Regular Datacores cost 50 research points each. Weapon-related Datacores cost 100 research points each. And Starship Engineering Datacores cost 150 research points each. Remember earlier I said, however, that weapons Datacore research and Starship Engineering Datacore research are doubled and tripled, so it all evens out anyway. You basically get the same number of Datacores. It doesn't make any difference. You can then buy as many as you wish. Any unused research points remain in your accumulated pool for that research, R&D agent, rather. After ordering your Datacores, you'll get those. You can then transport them to a trade hub and sell them, and voila, you've made ISK from Datacore Farming, selling them at market prices. Now, there are a number of things that you can do to maximize your ISK from Datacore Farming. You'll have to give it some special care and feeding every month or so. If you're not earning what you would like from your Datacore Farming, I'd recommend doing a few things. Number one, you can train your research project management skill all the way to 5 so you can get access to 6 R&D agents. Now, this will take a long time, so be aware that it's a pretty significant investment. Also, some corporations base their best level 4 R&D agents in low security space. If you want to get access to these, I recommend that you fly a cloaked ship like a blockade runner or a covert's opcraft. Also, be very careful flying in low sec, as pirates like to hunt there. But I do have a couple of R&D agents that are in low sec, and they're a little higher quality, and it's definitely worth it. Also, track the prices of Datacores using the EveGeek site that I posted earlier, and change your focus every once in a while in the areas that you have some training in those applied science skills. You may need to train some additional applied science skills to get access to those. Also, don't forget the offered R&D missions. If you do those, you'll basically double your RP production and thereby double your Datacore Farming ISK. Now, farming Datacores can give you a very reliable income stream, as I mentioned. 100 million ISK per month is very easy to do. If you've chosen your Datacore types wisely, you can expect that every month. I do recommend monitoring the changes in Datacore pricing and adjusting your research every few months to maximize your passive income. Also, long-term, Datacore's improved profits from invention and Tech 2 manufacturing. And this is what I use most of my Datacores now. I used to sell them in the market, but I make most of my money from Tech 2 module manufacturing now. Later in your career, as you get into that, if you put up a research pause and start to do your own invention and creating Tech 2 modules, that can be extremely profitable. And so having a stream of Datacores can make that a lot better margins for you. So it's definitely worth it. That brings me to the end of the class. If you like the class, do me a favor and send me a tip of 1 ISK with a comment. It's always great to get your feedback, and I very much appreciate it. Also, if you have any suggestions for improving the class, feel free to send me an email. Your comments, both critical and laudatory, are appreciated. So with that, let me close off and say good luck and fly safe, everybody.